Berkshire Hathaway bought McDonald's shares in 1995, 1996, and by the end of 1996, Berkshire owned 30.2 million shares of McDonald's, costing about $1.3 billion, purchased at an average cost of $42 per share. That meant Berkshire Hathaway owned a 4.3% stake in the fast food chain. The stake was sold within 12 months of final purchase. The current, November 2024 market capitalization of McDonald's is about $207 billion at $295 per share. If you add on dividends, it would seem like selling McDonald's was a huge mistake. What prompted Warren Buffett to sell? Listen on.
Right to the office, it's all of a 5-minute drive. One of the good things about this 5-minute drive is that on the way there's a McDonald's, so I'll pick up something.
Good morning. Thank you for choosing McDonald's. Go ahead and order whenever you're ready.
I'll have a sausage McMuffin with egg and cheese.
Share with us your thoughts when you decided to sell McDonald's
That must have been Charlie's idea, Peter. I said it was a mistake and to sell it, and it was a mistake, and I just reported that in the interest of candor, and there were some reasons why. You look at the business. I mean, how you decide if you own a half interest with some buddy of yours in a McDonald's store, how do you decide, whether it's a successful investment? Well, if the snow's 2 feet out and there's no business today, do you say, well, I made a terrible deal? No, you look at how it's performing as a business over time, how it's doing versus the competition.
Warren Buffett loves McDonald's and walks the talk by eating at McDonald's practically every day. Yet he sold McDonald's whilst admitting the sale a mistake. He makes good comparisons of McDonald's with Dairy Queen, Gillette, Coca-Cola and See's candies. What are the reasons for selling McDonald's? Please watch until the end of the video to find out.
Good afternoon, Warren, Charlie.
Hi, Peter.
Good to see you. I'd like to ask you what your thought process was when or share with us your thoughts when you decided to sell McDonald's
That must have been Charlie's idea, Peter. Peter, incidentally, is in a family that 4 generations have essentially invested with us, and they're all terrific people, I might add. His dad was a wonderful guy. I said it was a mistake and to sell it, and it was a mistake, and I just reported that in the interest of candor, and there were some reasons why I thought it was something I didn't think obviously that it was any great short sale or even a great sale, but I didn't think it belonged in the list of 8 or 10 of the businesses, of the very few businesses that we want to own in the world. And I would say that that particular decision has cost you in the area of $1 billion plus. Charlie?
You want me to rub your nose in it? You're doing a pretty good job by yourself. By the way, that's a good practice around Berkshire. We do rub our own noses in it. We don't even need the help of the Kenters.
We believe in postmortems at Berkshire. I mean, we really do believe. One of the things I used to do when I ran the partnership was I contrasted all sale decisions versus all purchase decisions. It wasn't enough that the purchase decisions worked out well. They had to work out better than the sale decisions. And managers tend to be reluctant to look at the results of the capital projects or the acquisitions that they propose with great detail a year or 2 earlier to a board, and they don't want to actually stick the figures up there as to how the reality worked out against the projections. And that's human nature. But I think you're a better doctor if you drop by the pathology department occasionally, and I think you're a better manager or investor if you look at every one of the decisions you've made of importance and see which ones worked out and which ones didn't, and what is your batting average. And if your batting average gets too bad, you better handle the decision making over to someone else.
My name is Tom Conrad, and I'm from McLean, Virginia, and I'm a shareholder. And I asked a question last year, Mr. Buffett, to you. I was struck with what you said, that it takes only 3 quality companies to invest in to be set for a lifetime. And I asked you the question last year, should I wait until the market goes down, or should I get in now? And you advised to get in now, and the 3 companies that I chose were Coca-Cola, Gillette, and Disney. And because of that advice, I was able to afford the ticket to come back this year to ask you a second question. And my question is this. I think of expanding to a 4th company. And the 4th company that I'm thinking of is McDonald's. And I just wanted to ask you if you feel that McDonald's has the same ability to dominate the way Coca-Cola and Gillette has? And secondly, do you feel that if the answer is yes, that I should wait until the price comes down a bit or get in now? And that's my question.
Yeah. Would you like it to the eighth of a point, or shall we round off? In the annual report, we talked about Coca-Cola, and in the annual report we talked about Coca-Cola and base business being what I call the inevitables, but that relating products with Gillette, it doesn't extend necessarily everything they do, but fortunately in both those companies those are very important products. I would say that in the food business you would never get the total certainty of dominance that you would get in products like Coca-Cola and Gillette. People move around in the food business from where they eat from. They may favor McDonald's, but they will go to different places at different times. And somebody starts shaving with a Gillette Sensor Plus is very unlikely to go elsewhere, in my view. And so they do not. You never would get in the food business, in my judgment, quite the inevitability that you would get in the soft drink business with a Coca-Cola. You'll never get it again in the soft drink business. I mean, it took 100 in the soft drink business. I mean, it took 100. I guess it'd be 1886, so it'd get to the point where they are, and the infrastructure is incredible, and so I wouldn't put it quite in the same class in terms of inevitability. That doesn't mean it can be a better stock investment depending on the price, but you're not going to get the price from me. And knowing Charlie, I doubt it. It can be a better stock investment depending on the price, but you're not going to get the price from me. And knowing Charlie, I doubt it. You can get the price from him, but we'll give him a chance. He's breathing, folks. He's breathing.
We've got this down to a routine, so I have nothing to add, Warren.
Okay. Some things travel very well, and some things don't. I mean, Gillette travels, Disney travels, McDonald's travels, Coke travels. See's Candy doesn't travel as well. It might if you spent 50 years working on it, but it's not an easy thing to travel. I mean, actually, candy bars themselves don't travel very well. If you look at the top-selling candy bars in France or in England and Japan, you don't find the similarity that you find in terms of the best-selling soft drinks or movies or fast food hamburgers or razor blades. And
except Snickers, for some reason, Snickers travels very well. Don't ask me why.
Yeah, well, Charlie's had a lot of experience as he goes around the world.
I'm Joe Knob from Seattle, a shareholder, Mr. Buffett and Mr. Munger. I wonder if you could comment a little bit further on McDonald's, carrying forward your comments of this morning, but more oriented toward how the McDonald's would stack up against the inevitables in international type business, what your vision would be on their growth potential in places like Germany, China, so on and so forth.
Yeah, I guess I just would have to stick with my comment that you won't get the inevitability in food that you will get in a single consumer product, such as blades. I mean, if I'm using a Gillette sensor blade today, the chances are I'll try the next generation that comes out. It'll be the Sensor Excel right now, but if I will try the next one that comes out, obviously, but I will not fool around at all in between. And a very high percentage of people that shave, including women shaving, they're happy with the product. It's not expensive. It's $20-odd a year, if you're a typical user. And if you're getting a great result, you're not going to fool around. Whereas a great many of the decisions on fast food as to where you eat is simply based on which one you see. I mean, convenience is a huge factor. So if you are going by a McDonald's or a Burger King or a Wendy's and you happen to be hungry at that point, if you're traveling on the road and you see one of those signs up, you're probably going to stop at you may very well stop at the one you see. So there's a loyalty factor, but it's just not going to be the same in food. People want to vary I don't. I mean, I'm happy to eat every day, but most people want to vary where they eat as they go through the week or the month or the year, and they don't really have any great desire to vary their soft drink the same way. It's not the same thing. So There's no knock on McDonald's at all. It's just the nature of the kind of industry they're in. Charlie?
I can't think of anybody else who before McDonald's ever did what McDonald's did to create a chain of restaurants on such a scale that worked. Yeah, there were a lot of failures. Some of you are old enough around Omaha to remember Reed's or Target's Wholesome Hamburgers.
Right.
And they came and they went, those chains. But it is a much tougher business that McDonald's is in.
It's price sensitive too. I mean, obviously.
Part of that's comparative. You could spend a lot more money on hamburgers in the course of a year than razor blades. I mean, you can't save that much by changing razor blades.
Yeah, the average person will buy 27 in the United States, 27 sensor excels a year. You know, that's one every roughly 13 days. And I don't know what the retail price is because they give them free to us as directors, but if they're $1, it's $27. I mean, and it makes a lot of difference. That's what's happening, of course, around the world is people that are using cheap double-edged blades or whatever is they keep moving up the comfort scale and the comfort ladder, and Gillette is a direct beneficiary of that. The difference between having great shaves and very so-so shaves and lots of nicks and scratches and everything is $10 a year or $12 a year. I mean, that's not going to cause many people to change their habits. And the sensor for women has just been a huge success. I think they've had more razors go out on that than the same period when the original sensor came out for men. So that's been an enlargement of the market. I would not have guessed that would have worked that well. Before that, all the women just used the disposables or their husband's boyfriend's razor, but thank God they've gotten over that.
My name is Steve Errico. I'm from New York. McDonald's and Dairy Queen are similar businesses. Was there a relationship between your acquisition of Dairy Queen and the disposal of McDonald's? Thank you.
Yeah, there's no connection in the second case. They have certain similarities, but there's certainly a lot of differences too. You know, a Burger King and McDonald's would be much more similar, or a Wendy and McDonald's, but Dairy Queen is much more of a niche.
Would you give us what logic went into your decision to both buy and sell McDonald's?
The question about McDonald's simply is, it's an outstanding business, and we don't talk about it when we buy it. We don't talk about it if we sell it.
My name is George Gatti from Zurich, Switzerland, and my question refers to two food businesses, namely McDonald's and Dairy Queen. Are there major differences in the investment characteristics between McDonald's and Dairy Queen? And if yes, would you explain them?
Yeah, there are.
McDonald's and Dairy Queen? And if yes, would you explain them?
Yeah, there are major differences. McDonald's, I can't tell you the exact percentage, but if they've got 23,000 outlets, they own many, many thousands of them and operate them. And then of the remainder, they own a very high percentage and lease them to their operators, their franchisees. So they have a very large investment on which they get very good returns in physical facilities all over the world. Dairy Queen has, counting Orange Julius, 6,000 plus operations, of which 30 odd are operated by the company, and even those, some are in joint ventures or partnerships. So the investment in fixed assets is dramatically different between the two. The fixed assets investment by the franchisee or the person as landlord obviously is significant at a Dairy Queen, but it's not significant to the company as the franchisor. So that the capital employed in Dairy Queen is relatively small compared to the capital employed in McDonald's, but McDonald's also makes a lot of money out of owning those locations and receives, whereas Dairy Queen will in most cases receive 4% of the franchisee's sales in terms of a royalty. At a McDonald's, there's that more than that percentage plus rentals and so on. So they're two very different economic models. They both depend on the success of the franchisee in the end. I mean, you have to have a good business for the franchisee to over time have a good business for the parent company. Both companies have that.
to over time have a good business for the parent company. Both companies have that. Charlie?
Is not very much when you stop to think about providing a group of franchisees with a nationally recognized brand and quality control and all sorts of desirable business aids.
No, 4% is at the low. If you look at the whole industry, 4% is on the is in the lower part of the range. But
part of what attracted us, part of what attracted us was the fact that part of what attracted us was the fact that the
sell his operation for significantly more than he has invested in tangible assets. And we want it that way, obviously, because that means he's got a successful business, and it means that over time we will have a successful business. You want a franchise operator. You want the franchise operator to make money, and you want him to create a capital asset that's worth more than he's put in it. That's the goal.
In your description of McDonald's, I mean, you have the sense that there's a great business buried in McDonald's, and there are two good businesses that are mixed in with it. And the problem is with the real estate and the operational business, that as the company is currently capitalized, they can't earn the same kind of returns they can earn in the franchising business. You were or still are a significant shareholder of McDonald's. I guess my question is, the solution is obvious. Why don't you push for a solution that creates the same opportunity you have at International Dairy Queen?
Well, my guess is, I don't know the details on it, but my guess is that with 23,000 locations all over the world, I think it would be extraordinarily difficult to separate the real estate business out from the franchising business at this point. I think they could have gone a different route. I'm not saying it would have been a better route at all. In fact, I think the odds are they followed the right route in owning and controlling so much real estate. But I just think the problems would be horrendous. Certainly, you wouldn't want to sell it and lease it back, because you would not end up with more value, in my view, by doing that. And spinning it off in a real estate trust or something, with operating in 100 plus countries, and with all of the franchise arrangements, I think it would be a huge problem. I would not want to tackle it myself. So I think that you should look at McDonald's, and I don't know anything about their plans on this, but I think you should look at McDonald's as being a very good business, but the one that will continue in its present mode vis-a-vis the real estate, although I think they've signaled that they're going to do less on new properties, somewhat less in connection with ownership than they've done to this point. But there's 23,000 locations out there, and every operator, his own arrangement is very important to him, and it would be a mammoth job, and I'm not sure how much extra value would be created in the end anyway. Charlie?
Yeah, the net returns on capital McDonald's has earned all these years are high, even though they have owned a lot of the real estate. I think it's hard to quarrel with the way they did it. They had the best record.
And the multiple is not greatly different, in my view, than if the real estate were separate. I mean, now if you get all the real estate de-taxed in some arrangement, you might get a little more out of it, but it doesn't strike me as a big deal.
Hello, Mr. Buffett and Mr. Munger. My name is David Klein-Rodick from Lincolnshire, Illinois. Thank you for letting me ask the first question. I wanted to say I am sorry for the loss of your friend, Mrs. Graham, last year. My question is, you have said that your favorite time to own a stock is forever, yet you sold McDonald's and Disney after not owning them for long. How do you decide when to hold forever and when to sell? And also, are you and Mr. Munger wearing Fruit of the Looms?
Charlie? I think I better answer the question. I can answer unequivocally, I am wearing Fruit of the Loom. And I'm not sure whether Charlie wears underwear, do you?
I haven't bought any new underwear in a long time, and therefore I'm inappropriately attired.
He's waiting for a discount. Don't let him kid you. Well, the answer, it's a very good question about selling. I mean, it's not our natural inclination to sell. And on the other hand, and we have held the Washington Post stock since 1973. I've never sold a share of Berkshire, having bought the first shares in 1962. And we've held Coke stock since 1988. We've held Gillette stock since 1989. Held American Express stock since 1991. We had actually previously been an American Express in the 60s in Disney. So there are companies we're familiar with. We generally sell, well, we would sell if we needed money for something else, but that has not been the problem in the last 10 or 15 years. 40 years ago, my sales were all because I found something that I liked even better. I hated to sell what I sold, but I also didn't want to borrow money. So I would reluctantly sell something that I thought was terribly cheap to buy something that was even cheaper. Those were the times when I had more ideas than money. Now I've got more money than ideas, and that's a different equation. So now we sell really when we think that when we're reevaluating the economic characteristics of the business. In other words, if you take them, don't want to name names, but take a stock we've sold of some sort. We probably had one view of the long-term competitive advantage of the company at the time we bought it, and we may have modified that. That doesn't mean we think that the company is going into some disastrous period or anything remotely like that. We think McDonald's has a fine future. We think Disney has a fine future, and there are others. But we probably don't think that their competitive advantage is as strong as we might have thought, as we thought it was when we initially made the decision. That may mean that we were wrong when we made the decision originally. It may mean that we're wrong now, and that their strengths are every bit as what they were before. But for one reason or another, we think that the strengths may have been eroded to some degree. A classic case on that would be the newspaper industry generally, for example. I mean, in 1970, if Charlie and I were looking at the newspaper business, we felt it was about as impregnable a franchise as could be found. We still think it's quite a business, but we do not think the franchise in 2002 is the same as it was in 1970. We do not think the franchise of a network television station in 2002 is the same as it was in 1965. And those beliefs change quite gradually, and who knows whether they're precise, whether they're right even, but that is the reason in general that we sell now. If we got into some terribly cheap market, we might sell some things that we thought were cheap to buy something even cheaper after we bought lots and lots of equities, but that's not the occasion right now. Charlie?
Nothing to add.
He's been practicing for weeks.